Well, hey, it's good to see you again. My name is Jaded Ben, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and to the year of 2025, where everything is still the same, trust me. We are beginning this year off with the Metal Tag, which was done by Marty and Alan over on the Heavy Metallurgy channel. I'd like to thank these guys for doing this again, and actually giving me something to talk about this early in the year. But as always, we're going to start by what's playing in the background just right over there today, and that is going to be Kill Grid by Enforced. These guys are from Richmond, Virginia. This is their 2021 album. This is their second album as far as I'm aware, but easily one of my favorite modern thrash metal albums. Clocked in at only about 41 minutes. Bunch of great tracks on here: UXO, Malignant, Kill Grid, Hemorrhage, and Trespasser being a couple of excellent cuts on here. Had the pleasure of seeing these guys live last year. No, not last year. 2023. I don't know what year it is anymore. We'll figure it out. 2023 with Jungle Rot and a bunch of other really good groups. So if you haven't heard of these guys or not super familiar, highly recommend this album. I've got the standard black version that I picked up on tour. But Enforced, Kill Grid, going to be playing in the background just right over there today. Alright, I've got all the questions written down right here, so we're going to go through them one by one, starting with question number 1. Hype. Name a release you are eagerly anticipating in 2025. Funny enough, there's a lot of things I'm going to be super anticipating this year, so we're going to give you 3. In that case, we have a brand new album from Tribal Gaze coming out. I talked about it in the last video. I've had conversations with the band members, and hopefully we'll have something out by the end of the year. Lunar Chamber is another example of that. They have stated they are working on a new album. They just got a new drummer. We saw them at Austin Death Fest. Again, had a conversation with them about a debut album, and they mentioned timetable sometime late 2025. And finally, my good friends in Void Witch, who recently said that they are going back to the studio and working on LP number 2. So honestly, if you're a big fan of death metal, death doom, or technical death metal, highly recommend checking out any of those bands. But yeah, can't wait to see what those guys get up to next. Okay, question number 2. Show the 25th item, LP, CD, your choice of format, in your collection. I have a bunch of vinyls, I have a bunch of CDs that are not sorted, so it would take me forever to find them, but I do have all my tapes in order. And number 25 in my tapes is Invitar with Inhuman. This was out in 2021 on Sudden Death Records. I've still got the tape in here, but it is numbered 29 of 75. Get a good focus there. There you go. It's on this nice, cool, blood-splattered tape. I believe I picked this up from Melanie Loves Death Metal, whenever she was running her old Discogs page. So I ended up, or it was a website, I believe. But I ended up picking this up, and it's really, really good. It's got a bunch of guest features in here, one of which being Dallas Toller Wade, ex-member of Nile. Super thrashy, super death metal-oriented from Indonesia. These guys are absolutely incredible, and easily an underrated, overlooked release in my collection. But yeah, good guitar. Inhuman. Alright. Next up, we have Overdue. Name an older band you checked out for the first time in 2024 and loved. Bunch of labels doing a bunch of legacy reissues and stuff, but one of them really, really stood out to me this past year, and that is Inepsy. This is Rock and Roll Babylon, reissued in 2024 on Tank Crimes Records. These guys formed in 1998, which is older than me, so I feel like I'd like to classify that as a little bit older, but this came out, I believe, in like 2004. But all things considered, super punky, super death metal, super thrash. Absolutely love this release. I am slowly starting to get into it more and more, so I can't exactly give my full opinion on it just yet, but I will say everything that I've heard from the bass, like straight off the rip with these guys, has been absolutely incredible, and I know there's going to be more reissues in, and hopefully we'll get to talk about these guys a little bit more in 2025. I've got a really cool sort of it's a black inside blue with a bunch of splatter. Yeah, super, super cool, but Inepsy being a kind of an oddball discovery towards the end of the year. Number 4, Feeding the Monkey. How do you purchase most of your music? Local stores, Bandcamp, online sites, etc. So there's pretty much 4 or 5 different methods on how I get my releases, but I will start by saying that most of my rare stuff, my sort of gems and stuff that I end up getting, is through Discogs 90% of the time. I picked up a bunch of old, test presses and stuff like that through sellers. Now, that isn't to say that it's always the best platform to do that stuff on, because there's definitely scalpers and stuff like that, so that's why some of these releases that I'm looking for aren't in my collection. It's just because people feel the need to scam people. I hate that. It's terrible. But that's always a big positive. If I'm going local shopping, there's a place called Enigma Records, which is about 10 or so minutes away from where I live, which is an incredible little shop. Their rarities wall is always stacked with some incredible things. I picked up a bunch of awesome things. I've seen a lot of awesome things. If you guys remember that Sleep Dope Smoker, the little weed leaf vinyl, I've actually seen one of those in person there on the wall, but it was like $400. I picked up a white copy of Death Symbolic for $85. So it's all comes down to a matter of digging, and honestly, that is one of my favorite ways to get records. I do a lot of blind buys, but I end up usually loving things because it was in somebody's collection, and they felt the need to spin it a good number of times, and eventually it goes on to somebody such as myself. And we got through a bunch of various label sites and Bandcamp. That is probably going to be Tank Crimes and 20 Bucks Spin and a bunch of other super awesome distribution sites. I'll link them all sort of like right here. I'll put a bunch on the screen so you can go ahead and check any of those out. A bunch of really cool websites that you should go check out. Okay, number 5. Show a heavy metal album that musically is hard to place into one subgenre. I've actually got a pretty good release for this one, and that is going to be the debut album from Final Gasp entitled Morning Moon, out in 2023 on Relapse Records. These guys fall into sort of a punk rock, death and roll, little heavy metal, little doom metal. It's a very unique set of releases. This is also super gothic in an odd way, so I would say there's a bunch of stuff on here. I'd say there's something for everybody. There's little moments where all these things are blended. I actually really like the sound of this record. I don't think there's anything else in my collection that sounds quite like this one. So, yeah, gonna give this a little recommendation, especially if you like all those little subgenres on there I've listed. I own a couple copies of this album. But, yeah. Okay, the next question is... Number 6. Talk about an album that you used to hate, but after many years it clicked with, and now you can't get enough. Sadly enough, I can't find this record in my collection. I searched for probably about 20 plus minutes, but that is going to be Integrity, Humanity is the Devil. I heard that album a very long time ago. I would say sometime around 2011 or 2012. And at the time, it didn't do a lot for me because that wasn't really when I was getting into heavy metal music. However, I did rediscover it after I was given a copy from the president of Relapse Records himself for, being a friend of the label. So that ended up rehashing that into my brain, and I think by that point I had processed a lot more hardcore records and stuff like that, so it definitely allowed it to sit and grow and become this beautiful, nurturing tree that all of my other hardcore tastes are based on. So definitely an oddball. I would say a lot of people definitely think that is one of their best records, and I'm actually more inclined to agree with them now. I'd say if you asked me probably about a decade ago, I probably wouldn't have an opinion for you. But, tastes grow, tastes change. So that's where we are now. Integrity, Humanity is the Devil. Okay, next up we have Impulse. Show an item you blind bought in 2024. And that's funny enough is that we're also talking about the hardcore subgenre, and also talking about Enigma just a while ago. We have Black My Heart. This is their album entitled Before the Devil, out in 2005. This was reissued on Triple B Records, I believe in 2018 or 2019. And I picked this up for about $20-something. This was the version, I believe, that was long sold out. I want to say this was the splatter version, if I remember correctly. No. It was the color twist version, which I believe had long sold out. I don't remember the limitation. I think it was 200 or 250. But all things considered, I love a bunch of stuff from Triple B. They've been doing a lot of really good reissues here lately. So finding that one and sort of diving into their back catalog of reissues and stuff like that is super, super cool. So Black My Heart Before the Devil. Okay, next up. Collector Scum. Show a title that you own more than one pressing of on the same format. CD, vinyl, cassette, etc. So, this is actually going to be a really cool one, because this is easily one of my favorite grindcore records to date. That is Pig Destroyer with Terrifier, out in 2004 on Relapse Records. I've got a sort of standard vinyl edition here. This was a black inside red with a bunch of splatter on it. I believe this was a 2021 reissue that I only picked up for about $20. But all things considered, this was a super, super awesome release. So on the counter side of that, that being one of my favorite albums, I went ahead and picked up the 20th anniversary edition box set that came out last year on Relapse Records. This thing is absolutely insane. I'll see if I can pull this out real quick. But this was a 4 LP box set that features a bunch of bonus material housed in this super, super cool inner jacket here. So I'll show you. So they store the records in the pages. So all of these pages have a record in it. And as you can see, it is super, super, super cool. It's a little dark in here, so I apologize, but it's been raining a lot. But this is limited to 525 copies, and I'm very happy that I own this, because any record that I love enough, a box set version is usually in order for me, and I'd say this was no exception. So owning more than one, I'd say if I'm going to get multiple vinyl copies, I want some super awesome box set edition, such as this one. Okay, next up we have question number 9. Show off a grail that you collected in 2024. We're going to talk about this one in my next Wax Showcase video, which is probably going to come out towards the end of the month. But for those of you that are watching right at this very moment in time, you're going to get to see this a little bit early. Opeth's Ghost Reveries, out in 2005 on Road Runner Records. This was a 2018 reissue on Music on Vinyl. This is the clear and black smoke copy. Mine is numbered, I'm not sure if you can see, number 406. This was out of 3,000. I definitely paid a little bit more for this than I would have liked, but then again, nobody reissues this album. It's been 6 going on 7 years now. But all things considered, this is probably one of my all-time favorite records. All things considered, this was at the very, very top of my list. This was sort of the thing that got me into Opeth, as well as Catatonia and a bunch of other bands in this sort of similar subgenre. So I think all in all, this is a super, super cool grail to finally check off the list. There's a couple more that I did check off here very, very recently, but y'all will be seeing those in future videos, and we're going to do an updated version later in the year of all the albums I'm searching for. Okay, next up, a plea to the VCLT gods. What is a grail you are on the hunt for? In case you didn't see my last video where I talked about 10 albums that I'm in search of, there's a bunch of those on there. Some of them I've actually already shown in videos, but a couple more that I'm still looking for. I would say the top of the list right now, that's going to be Dissection Storm of the Light's Bane. Pretty much any official pressing that I can get my hands on. I'd say that's going to be top of the list right now, but honestly, I've seen weirder things happen. So that's going to be the top of the list right now. It's easily one of my favorite black metal albums probably one of the first black metal albums I've ever heard, and surprisingly, very, very difficult to find. Alright. Question number 11. A Boomerang album. Show an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. Funny enough, I've actually just owned multiple copies of this. I own one copy and I've never gotten rid of that copy, but I've gotten many different duplicates through many different means. That release is Images of Horror by Internal Suffering. This was repressed through Corpse Crystal Records. Pretty much every single package I get from Corpse Crystal Records has a CD of this included. And while I'm always very grateful for the free CDs, I've ended up getting probably about 4 or 5 different copies of this. I think I ordered something from a guy on Discogs, and I think he also sent me one of these, but that was a while ago and I don't remember. But that actually might have been the first copy I received. But all things considered, Immortal Suffering. Great album, all things considered. Again, great release, great old school death metal. But I've owned probably about 4 or 5 different copies of these. I think I've got 2 in my collection right now. It's somewhere over here. I'll have to dig for them and probably put them up for sale at some point. So, but either way, good little Boomerang. It's just, I don't know how many of these I've tried to sell in the last little while. Question number 12. Reunion. Name an artist that you've lost track of over time, but reunited with in 2024. This was also a band reunion, considering they had broken up and gotten back together again, with Nails. This is their album, Every Bridge Burned, out in 2024 on Nuclear Blast Records. Trying to get some good lighting in there. Again, apologies for the lighting. But I was very familiar with their early works, such as Unsilent Death and Abandon All Life, and then once the band split up, they kind of fell off my radar. A bunch of really good bands sort of took their place for me, but once this album came back, I went back and dived through the rest of their catalog, and man, I missed these guys. I've been wanting to see these guys live for a good length of time, probably going on 5 years now. But Nails coming back after a long time, and it's like reuniting with an old friend. I very much miss these guys. This album was incredible, by the way, placed in my top 20 last year. Anyways, moving on to the next one. Upstart. Name a new band whose debut album really impressed you. Not necessarily in 2024, but recently. I'm going to kind of show you a really good release from the southwestern metal scene that I think anybody in their right mind should know about. That is Saint Breaker with their album Unrelenting Violence. This was pressed on Wet Records, aka Glory or Death Records, out in 2023. Absolutely fucking incredible, these guys. I have no idea how I had not heard of these guys earlier, but this was easily not only one of the greatest albums I've heard in the modern thrash scene, very similar to Enforced, who's playing in the background right now, but honestly, these dudes are absolutely insane. And because it was pressed on Wet Records, I own a Wax Mage copy. Look at that. Ha 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 ha. This awesome yellow, orange, and yeah, red, yellow, and orange nebula with a bunch of cool splatter colors in there as well. This was limited to 25 copies. Again, absolutely stunning. I'm hoping these guys will be doing another album and coming back around Austin very, very soon, considering I missed them the last time they were here. We'll see. That's definitely an album that you should go check out. It's a death thrash record, basically. That's the best way I can describe it. But, oh my god, the fact that got a Wax Mage pressing is fucking insane. Alright. Next up, Influencer. Show a band or release that you bought as a direct result of watching someone's YouTube channel. Funny enough, this was actually a band that I discovered not through like a vinyl YouTube channel, but this is a band I discovered through like a live concert footage channel. And that is going to be Big Ass Truck out of California. This is their compilation release with their demo and their promo. Easily one of the most fun hardcore shows that I've ever seen. I would love for them to stop by to Texas this awesome red, white, and blue smoke edition called America Smoke. So cool. This was limited to 500 copies. This vinyl had actually sold out by the time I had heard of these guys. I got into them about 4 weeks after this release was up and live. However, the label, who I was already following, sent an email saying, hey, we got restock of about 30 copies, and I went ahead and snagged one, and man, they disappeared fast. Very, very happy to have these guys. Can't wait to see these guys in the future. Can't wait to see what these guys do next. Because if you like hardcore songs about big-ass trucks and monster trucks and cows and dogs and all sorts of cool things, check these guys out. Seriously. All right. Question number 15. Don't judge a book by its cover. Show a great album with a bad album cover. I had to do some serious digging for this one. One of which was an album I don't even own, but I've actually found a record that I do own. That is going to be From Sacrifice to Survival by Skinless, out in 2003 on Relapse Records. I was showed this on a vinyl copy, but this artwork doesn't exist on a vinyl copy. I got a reissue artwork, which I will show right there. Decent artwork, not gonna lie. Violence in the Veins did a really good job with that. The artwork for this one is super cartoonish, I would say. I don't necessarily think it's a bad cover, all things considered, but yeah, definitely not the best artwork by any stretch of the means. Super killer album, especially for early 2000s death metal. So, yeah, can't always judge a book by its cover, though most of the album artworks that I have are absolutely fucking sick. Alright, next up. Number 16, Rembrandt. Show an album whose album cover was created by one of your favorite artists. This was actually a release that I don't own, and that is going to be the Phobophilic and Sanctuarium split. The artwork was done by Joyce Cave out of Indonesia, or the Philippines. Answer on screen there. Ended up doing this in 2020. My band, Jaded Black, actually ended up working with Joyce Cave in 2019. So very funny to see a bunch of bands that I'm familiar with using Joyce's artwork. And I think that's awesome. So big props to Joyce Cave. That artwork is so cool. Actually, here, I'll show you my band's artwork. Super cool, actually. I'll link them, their Instagram down in the description, so if you're looking for really cool artwork. They do the artwork by individual pen points, which is so cool, because if you zoom in, you can see all of the little pen points on it. It's so cool. Honestly, such a great art style, and fitting for a lot of death metal and black metal stuff. Name a release that you would like to see reissued on your preferred format. I would like to say this is going to be on vinyl, but I would very much like to see a reissue of the debut Ripping Corpse album. I'm honestly been searching for this for a while. I own an Unknown Year CD reissue that, again, is somewhere over here that I have to dig for. But the fact that it hasn't been on vinyl since it came out, there was a bootleg in like 2020 on Clear that, again, we can't buy. It's a shame. Like, seriously, there's money to be made there. So, Ripping Corpse. Number 18, name an album from a genre that you do not listen to very much. Again, we did a video about this not too long ago, but I kind of purposefully left this album off because I was going to talk about it in a future video down the line. But the release in question is Billie Holiday, Solitude. This was a very, very old jazz album. This issue I picked up at a bookstore here in Austin called Half Price Books. My copy is actually numbered. I'm not sure if we can see that. Number 296 of 400. These were only pressed in the UK. So somebody must have ordered one and sent it over here. This cool gold with white splatter edition. Absolutely fucking gorgeous. And it is 180 gram heavyweight vinyl, so it sounds incredible. I had been looking for this album for quite a good length of time, so when it appeared, I pounced immediately. The label in question that produced this, that ended up making this, is Second Records out of the UK. So definitely go check out their website, and I don't know if they ship to the US, but I'll link to it in the description. Alright, we're coming up on towards the end of the videos here. Number 19, name an artist you would like to see live in 2025. I've got a video for this coming up in the near future down the pipeline, so we're only going to talk about one, and that is Skinless, basically. Get that sticker off of there. Skinless. This is their album, Trample the Weak, Hurl the Dead. Just got reissued on Corpse Crystal Records, so I'm hoping to capitalize that on that reissue of tape and CD and vinyl eventually. I have the Relapse Records edition here. This is, I believe, the gray vinyl. I'm hoping they'll play some more Texas dates, so I very much want to see them. I'm looking for some test presses. I'm looking for some more clear stuff, but if I get the chance, I will get all of that stuff signed, and you'll be seeing it on the channel here in no time flat. So, Skinless, number 1 on the bucket list for bands that I need to see live. No questions about that. And finally, the 20th question in closing. Shout out 2 channels you discovered in 2024, or just shout out 2 channels you enjoy. I'm actually just going to shout out a bunch of different channels. We're going to shout out my good friend Boss in Unblessed Meat, the Accusation Network, Altars of Madness. There's a couple other channels that I check out just so you guys get to know what I watch in my spare time. The Urban Rescue Ranch, absolutely hilarious. I'm going to understand that maybe a bunch of people in the older demographic may not find his comedy funny, but his work is so captivating, and every single thing he does on the channel is for a great cause in wildlife rescue. And finally, we're going to talk about King Kidpin, who is a wrestling YouTuber. He does a bunch of edits for a podcast called Deadlock, and he basically syncs it up to the specific events that he's talking about. Man, it's hilarious. His editing is absolutely incredible. If I could edit as half as good as he can, I feel like I'd be a great editor. So there's a bunch of cool channels for you guys to go check out. And I'm just going to kind of open this challenge. I assume it's supposed to be open up to anybody. I'm not supposed to challenge anybody. So I'm actually just going to challenge you. If you see this video and you are all the way at the end of the video here, you've been challenged. Go and do these questions. I'll link to the original video down in the description box down below. And if you've got a couple comments, leave them down below. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It helps me an absolute ton. We're starting the channel off at a good point, and I hope to do more with the channel as we go forward. May 2025 be good to you all. Stay safe, stay metal. I'll see you next time.